A bad start dooms the Blackhawks as they lose 3-1 to the LA Kings at the United Center. But hey, Conor Bedard scored a goal. Let's talk about it next on the CHGO Blackhawks postgame show. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks postgame show presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use the code CHGO365 when you sign up, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. I'm Jay Zawoski. That's Greg Boyson. Mario Tirabassi is back at the United Center. Will join us in about a half hour with all the postgame news, including hopefully an injury update on Colton Dock, who left the game late with a shoulder that looked not good. That arm looks significantly longer than the other one.
Yeah, hopefully it's just one of those things where something pops out and you can just put it back in, and he's a hockey player, so he'll be fine, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it did not look good.
Unfortunately, when it comes to the Dock brothers, you cringe anytime there's an injury.
That's brutal. Well, the Hawks lose 3-1 to the Kings, and like it's been for most of this season, one really horrible period is the difference in the game. First period, the Hawks are outshot 19-7, which is sort of generous based on the way the period went. Kings out to a 2-0 lead. They score 2 goals 59 seconds apart, and that was basically the game. Bedard scores on the power play in the second period, and the Hawks put up a fight for the last 40, but just don't have the firepower. Couldn't beat Darcy Kemper, who's been really good this year. And Joel Edmundson scores the empty netter for the Kings to seal it 3-1. And it's, Sarah, we could probably just fire up the last postgame show and play that one because it's the same thing. This team is not good enough to not put forth a full, as best they can, 60-minute effort. Like you said last game, Greg, no one has a complete 60. But you want to be closer to 45 or 50 than 30 or 25.
Yeah. This one, at least they didn't embarrass themselves tonight because that's where it felt like it was going.
It felt that way, yeah.
Against Seattle, it was great first period and then didn't play the rest of the game. Today, it was lousy first period, and then second and third periods were pretty good. They were even. They've played the Kings well this year. They beat them 2 out of 3 times this year, and this is a playoff team. So, but just that lapse, you give up the goal. Did Turcotte have the first one? No, Turcotte had the second one.
Turcotte had the second
first one was
Moore.
Who you mistook for Trevor Lewis. One of the Trevors.
Whatever.
One of the fighting Trevs out there in LA. And, these 2 goals in 59 seconds. I mean, we've seen that so many times this year. We've seen that so many times this week.
Yeah.
But the whole not being able to put 3 consecutive periods of solid hockey together, that's not just a problem this year. That was a problem last season. That was a problem the year before. I mean, that's a problem with bad hockey teams. That's why they're bad hockey teams. Yeah. And you have guys, the young guys going to have to figure it out at some point. If it's a veteran team, like it was 2-3 years ago, you're just like, well, this is what it is. But with these young guys, you need to see them start figuring out how to get it done for an entire game. Hopefully that starts to happen. You got 13 games left. Hopefully you see some of that. You see individuals. Frank Nazar was really good today. Conor Bedard, back-to-back games with power play goals, now leads the team with 9 power play goals. Tyler Perduzzi's been stuck on 8 since literally December.
It feels that way.
So, this after the first period, I thought this game was going to be another 6-2 going to get run out of the building, but they made a game of it. Spencer Knight kept him in, and Darcy Kemper had to make 2 or 3 really good saves in that third period to keep him. I mean, he didn't face a ton of shots, but in the third period was their most dangerous period, the Hawks. I don't think Darcy Kemper gets enough credit for how good he's been. It's probably a product of playing on the West Coast, a lot of late night games, and the Kings are kind of a team that nobody really gets excited about. They don't have a star. They don't have a guy where you're like, "Ooh, I got to watch that Kings game."
They're kind of good, but they're not like a cup contender.
They, you know what the Kings remind me of? The Kings remind me of like those early 2000s, like Andres Nocioni Bulls.
Yes.
Where they're a bunch of try-hard guys.
Yes.
You don't necessarily want to play them because you're going to have a few new bruises when you leave, but overall, not enough talent to get them, past the Edmonton Oilers, which they're probably going to play in the first round again this year. So, but Kemper's been really good. Like, if I had a vote, he would be one of my 3 finalists for the Vezina this year. That's how good he's been.
He's been terrific. There's no doubt about it. But I want to go back to something you said about the young players. And, them, what you want, because if you go like guy by guy, right? Like, all right, Nazar looks good. Doc looks good. Del Mastro looks good. And individually they do. What these young guys need to figure out, and I heard Troy Murray mention this during the second intermission on our way from the UC to here, is they've got to learn like how to play in the NHL and how to play together and how to play as a system. And Alex Vlasic sort of alluded to that yesterday too, where you've got a lot of individuals trying to do things on their own, trying to make things happen. If you missed our interview with Alex Vlasic, go check it out on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube. That's like, yes, the individuals are performing well, the young guys, but they've got to figure out how to play together. And that's why I'm glad here at the end of the year, you've got Levshinov here. You've got the young guys in the lineup. Really, your only veterans are Martinez and Murphy,
right? To
give you some semblance of calm back there. And to know where to be and to kind of be coaches on the ice. You've got 4 defensemen, 23 or younger on your team. There's going to be a learning curve defensively, and I'm okay with that.
Yes, I would rather lose games because Artem Levshinov is having teaching moments on the ice as opposed to watching TJ Brody get his doors blown off for the 400th time this year.
Yes.
I'm okay with the young guys.
At least in theory, the young guys learning by example,
take your
learning
lumps
from their mistakes,
and get better from
Correct.
It. Where if it's a 35-year-old with 1 foot out the door, it is what it is. You're not going to be like, oh my God, don't worry. By game 70, TJ Brody's going to get it. He's going to turn it around. No, he is what he is, or Alec Martinez. They are what they are at this point where, you see Levshinov or you see Kaiser or Del Mastro make a mistake, but then that next shift, they get in the same sort of situation and then make the right play. You're like, see, there it is. That's what you want to see. And there is something to learning how to play together because a lot of these guys, defensemen and forwards alike, these young players, they're coming from their junior teams or their college teams where they're their best team's best players. So they're used to being like, hey, I got to do it myself. I'm going to go out there. It's what Derek King has said a bunch of times. You got to coach the junior out of these guys. And that takes time. If you go from being, ever since you were 10 years old to being the best guy on your team, the best guy in your league, you develop bad habits just because you're like, hey, I have to do this. Or, hey, there's scouts here. I'm going to go put 4 goals up.
Scouts.
Now you're like, you're a third liner. You got to learn how to play within a system. You'll get your looks, but you have to let it come to you. That takes a lot of time, to learn how to do that. But a lot of these guys who are going to be important down the road are getting to learn that at the NHL level and getting better, which is what you want to see. Like, none of these guys really are stagnant in their development or look out of place. Are they? Yeah, they're losing hockey games, but that's pretty much expected at this point.
Yeah.
But individually, they're getting better. Now we just need to start seeing that to gel, and hopefully over the off season, these guys spend their summers working out together. You get a training camp together with a new real NHL coach. A lot can happen.
And that's you do hope that, and look, and Davidson said it, you're playing these guys late in the year to see, okay, who is ready for full-time NHL hockey next year. So what Davidson's doing is saying, look, this year's lost. The trade deadline's over. We moved what we could. We held on to some guys. Now we're going to evaluate as many young players as we can, see what we've got NHL ready for next October, and then what do we need to fill in to supplement the team. That's the way you should be looking at it, because there is no point to put Brody and veteran guys out there just to maybe get 2-3 more wins at the end. Who cares? Wait, you know what I mean? Like, I'll take a loss like tonight, as frustrating as the first period was. It's 3-1, but it was a 2-1 game before the empty netter where they didn't fold the tents when they easily could have after a garbage first period. They came out for the second and third and played a much more even game, much more disciplined game. And we're right there till the end. I'll take that and have these young guys learning and making mistakes like Levshinov. It's probably not going to turn the puck over like that again in the middle of the ice. And when he does, he probably won't go and aggressively hook the guy, slash the guy to try to get it back.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
you would hope not.
I think Wyatt Kaiser is such a good example of a guy who has had a good chunk of NHL looks. And you've seen him from his first stint with the Hawks to his time last year, to his time early this year, to now where he's not making the same mistakes that he's made earlier. You can clearly see, and it hasn't all happened at the NHL level, but you can clearly see Kaiser making smarter plays at better times. It's still not perfect. It's not going to be.
Right.
But the mistakes are less frequent, and the good plays where you go, there, you can see a future from that guy with that play. And who knows where Kaiser is on their internal depth chart, right? If they even see him as part of their future once they're contenders again. But Levshinov, we're game 5 now. And you and I were talking about it, during the game, like he might be the best passer on a team already.
Yeah.
Everything's on the money. Everything is sharp. Everything,
nothing stays on his stick very long. He's decisive. He's quick and accurate, which is more than I could say for pretty much the rest of the team.
Yes, it's been a work in progress.
When he decides he's passing it to somebody, it's off his stick and it gets exactly where he wants it to be. There's even been a few times over the first couple of games where I think he surprised guys. Now they're starting to learn, get your stick on the ice. Artie's going to get it to me. Like,
yeah,
you have to learn that. We saw that a few times last year with Bedard, where guys weren't quite ready because they were like, I didn't know he can make that pass. Now they know, just get your stick on the ice. The puck is coming at some point. Be ready for it.
Yeah, it's I'm actually, as much as we're sort of counting down the days to the end of the season, because sometimes the post-game shows can be a drag, I am enjoying watching the young guys play and play well and be at the end of the day, when the smoke clears, you say, who are the better Hawks in this game? It is almost always the younger guys. Almost always.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's been that way for a few games now, and that's good. You want to see that. I mean, we've said a lot this year. If, once we knew that, okay, this is going to be another lousy season, that 70 to 75 points we all kind of thought this team was going to get is a pipe dream. It's not going to happen. And then we all said, if we get to the end of the year and it's 55 to 60 points, but the kids that matter have improved along the way, then you can live with that. And that's what we're getting right now.
Yes, 100%.
The point total won't be great. It's not going to be much better than last season. Maybe you pass it by 5 or 6 points. Maybe. But it'll be a different feel. Last year was kind of like, get half these guys out of here. Right. We got to get some new guys. Now at least you're like, okay, we know Frank Nazar is an NHL player.
You could check that box easily.
We know, you've got some more defensemen who are going to be NHL guys. I think, this stint from Levshinov has kind of turned down that you shouldn't have taken him noise.
It sure feels like it.
You've kind of,
the skill is evident.
People are like, oh, okay. The fact that he's up here this soon and played this well in this small sample size, and there are going to be nights where he's going to look terrible beyond this season.
Yes.
But I think that has kind of turned down that noise a little bit, where you see him and you go, oh, okay, I see why you drafted him. I'm okay with it. Like, if this is what it is in his first 5 games, I'm pretty excited to see what can be a couple years from now.
Definitely. All right, do us a favor. If you've not done it yet, please hit that like button for us on the YouTube page. Also, make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube page. And if you're catching up on the podcast, we love and thank you. Make sure you are following or subscribed there. And if you feel fancy, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. When we come back, we're going to reveal the 4-star nominees for the game, so you can get your votes in. You could do that ahead of time. It's already on your screen. And we'll talk to Mario in about 15 minutes. So stick around on the CHGO Blackhawks postgame show, powered by Bet365. And speaking of Bet365, we are very glad to have them on board. And they've got a wonderful new customer offer for you. You can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. All you got to do is sign up using the code CHGO365, deposit $10 and place a $5 bet to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. And how about this? They've got their NHL early payout offer. With the Bet365 early payout offer, you're a winner if your team gains a 3-goal lead with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Download the app, use that code CHGO365 when you sign up. And if you're watching the big tournament with the Bet365 early payout offer, you're a winner if your team goes up by 20.
The Hockey East tournament?
Yes, with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Download the app and use code CHGO365 when you sign up. Again, you'll get $150 in bonus bets when you bet 5, win or lose. Bonus bets can be used on the spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus. If you or somebody you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. Again, 1-800-GAMBLER is the place to get help if needed. And we want to tell you about our friends at Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake. They've got auto show deals going on right now. That means the latest vehicles you've been looking for are now priced with huge auto show savings, like $11,000 off MSRP on new Chevy models, or check out their selection of over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. With one of Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories, you're sure to find the perfect vehicle for you. And as one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, they're able to keep their prices competitive, so you know you'll get a great deal. Plus, Ray's Price Promise lets you shop confidently because a guarantee of no add-ons, no hidden fees, and no gimmicks means the price you see is the price you pay. You don't have to worry about price changing, stressful negotiation, or any tricks. The people at Ray Chevy just want to help you get into the right vehicle at the right price. See for yourself. Visit our partner this February at their convenient location, right on Route 12 in Fox Lake, and don't miss out on our auto show sales event going on all month long. Be the star of the show and take $11,000 off MSRP today by shopping Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or at raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive.
Okay. Breaking news.
Yes.
This is going to, everybody take a deep breath. This is going to be bad news. The Chicago Blackhawks have been officially eliminated from playoff contention.
I get my deposit back.
Yeah. Do we have taps on the soundboard?
I don't think we're allowed to use that. We'll get taken off YouTube.
That's public domain. We could use that. So yes.
There you go.
There you go. That's more like it. Yeah. So the Sharks and the Blackhawks are the only two teams who have been officially eliminated from the playoffs. And I believe the Washington Capitals clinched tonight. Did they end up winning that game? I knew if they won, they clinched. I didn't see. They were winning.
I don't know, but I know Ovechkin scored.
He did. He's going to break that record when the Hawks are there in a couple
Caps
weeks.
won 3-2.
Yeah, so the Capitals are in. The Blackhawks are out.
Oh, man. I was really hoping for a late season push from the Hawks.
It was there. It was right there for them. But, they would have had to play like 43 consecutive good periods in order to do that. And we can't even get 2.
That won't happen. We also have a super chat from our buddy Windy City Hockey. says, does Samuel Savoie get called up if the Doc injury is really bad? I mean, you've got Kurashev on the roster. You've got Pat Maroon on the roster.
You've got 2 forwards. I don't think and you only have 1 call-up left.
Yeah, they might need to wait just in case.
And I'm not sure, as much as we love him, I'm not sure Savoie is quite ready for the NHL yet. Plus, Rockford needs somebody down there.
Yeah, they
got to have somebody.
It can't be Cole, Gutman, and no one else.
Yeah, I just I don't think that will happen.
We do have an injury update, too. This from Mario at the UC. Anders Sorensen said Colton Dach will need to be evaluated further after leaving the game early with what looked like an arm injury. So a non-update, but it's not. It doesn't seem like he's going to be, air quotes, fine. So tough break for him. He's been playing pretty well lately. Here are nominees, by the way, for 4-star of the game. And I saw we've got some people upset about it. 3rd star of the game was Bedard with a power play goal. Which Moore is it again? Now I'm all in my head about it.
It's Trevor Moore.
Trevor Moore.
You had the last name wasn't the problem.
I know.
The Trevors.
You're in my head, though. And Alex Turcotte, future Blackhawk, according to the guy in my DMs, was the number 1 star of the game. So our nominees for the 4-star, Spencer Knight stopped 30 of 32 Kings shots on goal. He kept the Hawks in this game for sure. Lucas Reichel, who doesn't jump off the page in terms of stats or anything, 3 shots on goal, but was just kind of noticeable in his limited ice time today. I thought Joe Veleno had a nice game, getting back in the lineup, had 2 shots on goal, also hit the post twice, intercepted a pass from Drew Doughty, give himself a shorthanded breakaway that was stopped by Darcy Kemper, but a solid game for a guy who is still finding his way in the system. And it's the Hawks play a different system than Detroit. So he's coming in here on the fly, came in here on the road, and has to learn the system, but had a much better game tonight. I thought we just, mix it up from using the same usual people all the time.
Yeah, we all know who's going to win anyway.
Yeah, it's going to be Spencer Knight anyway. So
no, Reichel was noticeable. He did most of his best work on the power play. All 3 of his shots came on that second power play unit. When you look at natural stat trick and that line at 5-on-5, generated 0 shot attempts at 5-on-5. So I can do the math. That means all 3 of those shots came while on the power play. Yeah. But he was noticeable. Again, it's when you're picking on a score sheet that doesn't have a lot of numbers on it, you kind of just go by the eye test.
Yeah.
And Lucas Reichel was one of the most noticeable players. Without looking at a stat sheet, he's a guy that I remember was like, hey, he made a difference out there from time to time. So I don't know. It's our show. We can pick who we want.
Yeah, that's right. And you get to vote. If you don't agree with us, hit the like button to let us know.
Yes.
To let us know how stupid we are. That like button goes directly into telling us how much you hate us, as if we haven't gotten enough of that on Twitter lately. I know we've got Conor Bedard ready to go from after the game. Sarah, why don't we hear what Conor had to say, and we'll get to some chat comments coming up in a second here as well.
30 or 40 to even that up?
Yeah, I think we had a couple looks. Obviously after first period we got a lot better. I think, we didn't create enough, 5-on-5 probably, and that's kind of where the difference was.
The starts the last couple of games have been pretty good, and then today that was the problem. What do you attribute that to today?
I don't know. I mean, they came out flying, and I think they just took it to us, and we gotta, try to, take to them and set the tone early, and I think they just got energy off the first few shifts.
We've talked about goaltending a lot for a reason. Just how big was Spencer and you guys giving you an opportunity?
Yeah, he played great. I mean, a couple huge saves there when we're down a goal and we're pressing, and obviously if they get another one, that's 2-goal deficit is going to be tough. So just big saves, so calm, and so we feel comfortable with both of those guys.
I think it's your first back-to-back games with power play goals. Was that a really good look by Bertuzzi?
Yeah, it was a nice pass.
Is it getting tougher to stay motivated game to game with the season kind of winding down here?
No, I mean, obviously, you want to be, playing important games and stuff, but, for us, we got so many young guys and stuff that every game's important just for growth, and, Trying to improve, and we're not fighting for a playoff spot or anything, but we're trying to get better, and we're still competitors. We want to win, so in the end, playing hockey is fun, and we're always excited to go out there, especially when we're in front of our fans.
How comfortable were you playing the wing and kind of interchanging with Frank?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I've played a bit of both positions, obviously more center, but once you're out there, it's not positionless, but it's whoever's back first is going to take that spot. And even when I'm center, I find myself on the wall a little bit. So obviously I can keep improving on that area, but I feel comfortable.
Is that easier when there's 3 centers on the line? Basically, you're all kind of interchangeable.
Yeah, it's kind of like I said, whoever's back first is going to play that role, and obviously it's nice with Dickie, Frank, and myself. We can have a guy on the strong side every face-off, which is good. So there's definitely benefit to that.
Is there anything working in particular with the power play lately?
I mean, we're 7th in the league, so I think we're doing pretty good all year. But honestly, tonight I didn't think we were that great, and we ended up benefiting. But I think we've been pretty good all year.
All right, that is Conor Bedard post-game. Mario sent that in, and he'll join us right at, about 5 minutes or so from now. We'll talk to him. A couple people brought this up in the chat, by the way. Apparently, our old pal Craig Button, the Levshinov hater, had some comments today saying that Conor Bedard should wait to sign a long-term deal with the Hawks and that the rebuild has been a disaster.
For a guy that claims to be a prospect expert, he certainly doesn't pay enough attention.
I mean, yesterday, Sam Renzel is named the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. Today, Sasha Boisvert is named a Rookie of the Year in North Dakota. You had how many nominees for the Hobie Baker? No finalists, but okay. I don't.
Nick Lardis scored a million.
Yeah, Nick
goals
Lardis had
this year.
70 goals. I don't know what you're. I don't know. It's weird.
I wouldn't. I like Craig Button normally. I think he does a pretty good job, but you also have to remember Craig Button is in the Canadian hockey market where you have to engage fans any way you can. And the trendy thing this season is to beat up on Conor Bedard.
Sure is.
And he's not necessarily beating up on Conor Bedard here. He's just saying, well, I don't know if the Blackhawks necessarily want to give him an 8-year deal right now anyway. They probably want to get him to where he's still a restricted free agent when that next contract comes up.
I mean,
but
the thought would be maybe you save money by going long-term and betting.
Right. But to me, Conor Bedard is not going to care about any of that stuff. His agent will, but he won't. He's just like, whatever. I just want to play hockey. Just sign whatever. I don't care. Sure, I'll sign it. Yeah, maybe don't do it this summer because you want to see what the Blackhawks do. But Kyle Davison knows that he needs to get better players for Conor Bedard. He knows.
Yeah.
And he will. So again, this is just part of the deal that, you work for TSN. You're fighting for the headlines. You're fighting for the clicks.
Yeah.
You want to get people talking. And here we are. It
Talking
worked.
about it,
We're
yeah.
talking about it. Mission accomplished. Craig Button, way to go. You've got people talking. You've got people paying attention to you. That's all that is.
Our pal AKZ is in the chat, as always, just sort of trolling around saying, what kind of explanation is that? Canadians are already more invested in the game. And yes, Americans are more invested in football, and you still have people like Stephen A. Smith who go on the air and just try to make headlines. They're trying to generate conversation. They're disagreeing on purpose.
It's engagement farming.
I just don't know how you can honestly look at the Blackhawks young players currently on a roster and their system of prospects in the pipeline and say, this isn't working. This is a disaster. The rebuild's a failure. There is literally zero evidence in that regard. There's not one guy that the Hawks have drafted that you're like, not so sure about this one, that Kyle Davison has drafted. Now, are they all going to pan out? Of course not.
Right.
But the guys that have gotten chances, you haven't really written off yet, right? Is there anyone that he's drafted where you're like, probably not? Korchinski? No.
No.
Nazar? No.
I mean, I know there's a lot of I don't know if angst is the right word. That might be too strong, but there's a lot of doubt maybe about Oliver Moore just because his numbers don't jump off the page.
Yeah, he hasn't lit it up.
But you have to also understand, though, that like Oliver Moore has been played situationally. You have to put his season in context. Oliver Moore has kind of turned into like the Minnesota Golden Gophers, Jason Dickinson.
Yeah.
Like he's played in a lot of defensive spots. He plays down the lineup because that's he brings that kind of energy. They use his speed, so like you got to remember the context that Minnesota's out there. They've got a very deep team. He's used in different situations where he's not playing top line minutes. He's not playing top power play, stuff like that. So like you if you just look at his stats and say, oh, he only has 11 goals, that's not that great. Just you got to put his season in context.
You also have to remember too that not every first round pick is going to be a star player. He was drafted 19th, and you look at 19th picks. I'll start with let's go back to like 2020. Braden Schneider, Lassie Thompson, Jay O'Brien, Josh Norris, Kiefer Bellows, Evgeny Svechnikov, Tony DeAngelo, Kirby Reichel, Andrei Vasilevsky, good, Oscar Klefbom, Nick Bukestad. Like these are not, aside from Vasilevsky, obviously, superstar players, but they're guys that help good teams win. And not everyone's going to be 50 goals, 50 assists, 100 points. You need guys that can do it all. But Oliver Moore brings to this organization speed, the ability and willingness to defend, and a little bit of scoring punch to give you scoring depth.
Yes.
No one's counting on Oliver Moore to come here and be Conor Bedard's right winger for the next 10 years. Like that's never been the expectation.
You need your superstars to win, but you need your role players. You need your Christopher Steegs. You need your Dave Bolins. You need your Troy Browers. You need those type of guys. You need the depth. You need your Anthony Cirellis. Somebody in the chat said that Oliver Moore is having the same type of college career Matthew Nyes had. He's turned out pretty good.
It worked.
Not the same player. He's more of a, he's a bigger, more of a power fork, but still, he was used in those types of situations. If you compare their college numbers, they're very similar.
Yeah.
Because Minnesota is trying to win hockey games by using its roster to its maximum capabilities.
All right, we got to hit the break zone one more time. Mario is standing by. We're going to get to him next on the CHGO Blackhawks postgame show powered by Bet365. And is there any better combination than Hooters and Chicago sports? Well, probably Hooters and sports from another city.
From a city that actually
But
wins.
just Hooters and sports? No, there is no better combination. And you know what makes the original Hooters so special? Everybody knows. They care about their people, the food they serve, their guests, and their community. When I think of Hooters, those are the things that I think about. It's an experience like no other, based on years of hard work. And if that's not enough of an allure to get you in there, Hooters has more things to draw you into the restaurant that makes you say, wow, there is a really special and specific reason I'm going to Hooters. And it's their $6 cocktails. If you're thirsty, head to Hooters for $6 cocktails all day, every day. Enjoy an Absolute, Bacardi, or Sauza single mix cocktail for just $6 every day at Hooters. Or try Hooters' legendary margarita. So sweet, so tasty, so cheap. Yep, you guessed it. Just $6 all day at Hooters. Originality isn't just one thing. It's everything. Hooters is always an original, often imitated, never duplicated. The original Hooters has been one of a kind since 1983. Grab your game day feast and save money next time. It's win-win. You are going to love it. Go to any of their Chicagoland locations: Aurora, Countryside, Downers Grove, Joliet, Lansing, Melrose Park, Oaklawn, O'Hare, Orland Park, Schaumburg, and Wells Street. You can even order online for pickup and delivery. Check them out at originalhooters.com. And if you're the spring is here. Today's the first day of spring. Believe it or not.
It felt like that after
The
all the
second
snow
half-
melted.
Yeah, the second half of the day did.
Nothing like waking up to 3 inches of snow and by noon it was all gone.
Yeah, it was slush and then it was nothing. So tomorrow I'm going to head out and set up all my bird feeders because I'm a middle-aged man and that's what we do. And I'm going to bring out my Right-On binoculars so I don't scare the birds away. Right-On Optics manufactures and sells scopes, sights, binoculars, and other products for you. And if no matter what you do outside, It's always important to have the best view. Right On Optics offers a full range of optics products so you can see clearly. Everyone can use a good pair of binoculars. It would have been handy today to see where Colton Dock was going after he got injured from the press box. How about better views at your kids' sporting events? Is your kid a JV pitcher who's kicking ass in her first game like mine? Get some good binoculars to get a better view. Right On Optics has been around for over a decade. Every product receives a full quality control inspection. The Right On Promise unlimited lifetime warranty not only covers defects, but also accidental damage from drops. So if you're in a tree looking at birds and you drop them, they'll take care of you. Get a better look at everything, no matter what you want to look at. They're quality products you know you can trust. Check out the full line of Right On products today at rightonoptics.com/CHGO. That's RITON optics.com/CHGO. And speaking of G-Oing, we're going to G-O out to the UC and welcome in our buddy Mario Tirabassi, who is in the locker room post-game. What's up, Mario?
What's going on, guys? Took a second to listen to our friend Mr. Button's comments, and I'll say this. It was on a Vancouver-based radio program.
Oh, there you go.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, we saw a full minute of Tyler Bertuzzi. What did he have to say?
Did you watch it?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. He said it was good to score a goal on the power play, and it was good to end his 20-game goal drought. And then he said that they didn't have a good start, and that was about it. And that's pretty much the same amount of words he used that I did just there. So, yeah, that's pretty much what he had to say. And the theme of the night was that, the start was not great, obviously. And Sorensen said before the game that getting off to a good start has been something that they've been able to do the last few games, even though the last time out, that good start was wasted with 40 minutes following it that were just, a complete
Ass.
180. Yeah.
But
Yeah, exactly. So this game, they decided to start that way and then see if they could turn it around. And they kind of did, but not in a way that was substantial enough to really turn things around. Even though it was a 2-1 game, it felt way further away than it actually was against the Kings.
I also saw you tweeted out an update on the Colton Dock injury. Anything beyond the tweet of he'll be further evaluated? Did you get a look at him or anything like that?
He was in the locker room after the game, getting his gear off and everything. But I mean, it seems like it's going to be we'll get a maybe an update tomorrow if they can evaluate him tonight. But if you saw the play, he collides with I believe it was Drew Doughty, and then as he's kind of like going down onto the ice, he like catches himself with his arms out, and one of them, it might have been his left, looks like it kind of like buckles up into his shoulder. So hopefully it's maybe nothing more than a stinger. That he did head down to the locker room with like 2 minutes left in the game. So it was bad enough that he needed to get off the bench and go take a look at it. So hopefully it's hopefully it's not too bad, because he's been, he's one of those guys that you care about down the stretch here, having, some good performances. And as we've kind of said the last few post games, part of that young group that can set the table for next season.
Yeah, he looked very upset on the bench after it. He, punched I don't know if he punched the board or if he just slammed a stick against it.
Yeah.
But you could tell he was pissed about it.
Don't break your hand in addition to whatever's going on with your other arm.
I feel like, I know it's not the same, but when I was in high school, I went through like injury after injury, and it is the most frustrating thing. And I'm sure, Doc this year, for the most part, healthy and finally seems like a full-time NHL player, and then this happens. It's got to be aggravating as hell. So hopefully it's not anything crazy long-term and he just misses a couple games here, but you feel for him, man. It sucks. There's nothing worse.
Yeah, and we went through this with his brother too, with the injuries, and hopefully it's he's a guy that plays a physical style. So that's going to take a toll on your body, but you'd hope a guy who's 22 years old can be able to withstand some of that. So yeah, hopefully it's not a serious issue, and he can get back in the lineup. And he's one of those. He was one of him and Ethan Del Mastro were the two guys that were put on the waiver wire at the trade deadline so that they could be eligible to play in the postseason for the Ice Hogs. So not only for the Blackhawks but also the Ice Hogs' sake, they're probably hoping that this is not a big deal.
Yeah, maybe the fact that you stayed on the bench initially was a good sign, but who knows? I don't want to speculate too much.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the way he reacted, it made me think that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, he had a shoulder injury at some point last year, did he not?
Yeah, wasn't it the one he got in training camp? At the prospect tournament?
He had,
I know he had a concussion problem, but there were 2 injuries last year.
Well, I know he had a shoulder issue that knocked him out of the World Juniors a few years back, and I think he also, you're right, Jay, I think he also had a shoulder issue that was in the Tom Curvers showcase. Might have been last year's, not this year's, last year's showcase. So, yeah, I mean, I don't, but I think that might have been a different shoulder. Okay. It's hard to keep track.
Just because just the way he reacted, because he seemed to, once he got to the bench, he seemed more mad or frustrated to where he was like, "Oh, I'm not this same thing again."
Yeah.
Like, so, but we'll see. I mean, you know, the Blackhawks are practicing tomorrow, so we'll get a better update. I don't expect to see Colton Dach on the ice tomorrow. That'd be big news, but we'll maybe at least get a better explanation. I know Anders is not the world's greatest when it comes to
none of them are
anything at all. But
it is
especially injuries, he'll just say LTIR. Next question, but at least they could at least give us something a little more specific. You know, we went from everybody out 4 weeks to like, I don't know,
Laurent Brossoit 4 weeks.
Everybody.
Yeah, it's just gonna be 4 weeks.
Yep.
Conor Murphy was for me. Everybody.
Speaking of Brossoit, he walked past us as we were heading into the locker room, and Mark Lazarus turns to me. He goes, "Who was that?" I said, "That was Laurent Brossoit." He goes, "Oh, I finally saw him." Like, that's literally how it's been.
Was he wearing a name tag? Because I would have had no idea.
Yeah, I don't think I think there was one time, maybe it was like maybe November, and he was on the ice before practice one day. And it is the one time I got a glance of him all year. I've not, because I don't stay, because he is there. He'll walk out post games, but I'm never there post game. I've never seen him aside from there. He is on the 5th, 3rd ice.
Yeah, he's got a distinct, like, it's not really red. It's kind of red though. It's like a red brown mixture. Thick beard, hair, and then of course he's in a nice suit because he's a hockey player. So he's a little more distinctive to point out. Once you figure out who he is, you're like, oh yeah, that's him.
All right, we have confirmation. That's good journalism. That Laurent Brossoit is in fact a real person.
he's still around. Yeah,
I wouldn't have been able to pick him out in a lineup, but I guess in that situation, big guy, nice suit, walking out of a hockey locker room, I would have probably eventually been like, "Oh, that has to be Brossoit," because
process of elimination.
That's the only person I haven't seen all year. But if he was in a lineup and you said pick out which one of these guys is Laurent Brossoit, I probably wouldn't be able to do it.
No shot. We did, getting back to the game though. You said it. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Like, at least the fight was there. At least they didn't completely fold the tents. And I don't know. That's should not be the bar, but here we are. Based on the previous games we've had this year, it felt like it was really going to get out of hand, and they were able to sort of stop the bleeding and keep it close. And so I guess if you're taking anything away from this game, it's that moral victory that they didn't just lose 6-2. They lost 3-1.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is the way that Spencer Knight played. He was commended by Conor Bedard and Anders Sorensen after the game for the way that he played and kept him in. And yeah, aside from the 2 goals in the span of a minute, which both of them I don't necessarily hang solely on Spencer Knight. He came up with some big saves, and he was probably the biggest reason that this game didn't get to 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. Get out of hand quickly for the Hawks, and that's something that he's done for the most part. I know his last game wasn't up to that standard, but for the most part, he's played that role where he's kept this team in games. His first start, they won because he played out of his mind. So I saw some people online saying that remember when we were crowning Spencer Knight? It's like folks, let's not be out on Spencer Knight right now. He is still the guy that we've expected him to be so far, and he's 23 and he's a part of this future, and he's going to keep this team in games when they're bad, and then also when they are good again. He's going to be a big part of that. So another big game from him, and it was good to see the guys not just cave after the first period. They were still outchanced, outshot, all that stuff, but the effort was still there. The small details, they get frustrating. It was another frustrating night where drop passes are preferred over shots. I don't get it. The power play, they scored on a nice setup from Bertuzzi to Bedard, but the other 3 weren't great. So there's just details of this game that this team needs to continue to iron out. And, they got 13 more games left. Hopefully they can figure some things out and at least give us a little bit of hope going into next season that these young guys can turn that corner.
You're right, though. I mean, it is. I tweeted it. It's like the every game bingo card of the pass to nobody. That's an automatic. That should be the center square. You've got a forward inexplicably with a path to the net peeling off along the boards and waiting for the trailer to come. And then the trailer comes and they pass it a trailer and the pass is intercepted or behind the trailer and nothing ever comes of it. It's just, I think that's what becomes so aggravating. And again, Alex Vlasic talked to us about it yesterday. Players feel it too. Why do we keep making the same mistakes? And Sorensen sort of said it too. It's guys trying to do too much, guys not feeling confident. But man, just the Kings were doing it in the first period. Throw everything at the net. That Turcotte goal, that redirection, Gavrikov just is like, I don't really have a play here, so I'm going to throw it towards the net, and it's behind Spencer Knight. And that's it. That's the game. That's the game. I don't know. I can't do the shoot the damn puck show again because it's been for 3 freaking years now.
Yeah.
But at some point, get it out, figure it out. And SMV25 in the chat says they can't dump it in either. They also can't clear. And you watch that first power play, and I think Levshinov is taking the instruction literally and maybe it's a language barrier thing where it's like, okay, you're going to carry it out and then you're going to turn around and you're going to pass to the forward, and he will do it regardless of context. I think they need to get that message to him of okay, reiterating, that's what you're doing if it makes sense to do. It's he'll have a path to the net and just stop and wait for someone to come. I want to see on the power play him be more aggressive.
We saw Kevin Korchinski have that same issue last season when he got power play time.
It is it's hockey robot.
I have been taught Coach tells me I must drop pass. I am going to drop pass no matter what because I don't want the coach to be mad at me. They'll get that out of their system. It's just funny you were talking about Mario, about how people all of a sudden are now like, oh, I don't know about this Spencer Knight guy. I had a guy, what was the goal? Who did he give the goal up to in Seattle? The McCann goal, where the actual one where you're kind of like, man, maybe he could have had that one.
That might be the one he might have could have had that one he's given up since joining the Hawks.
Right. And so somebody in my comments right away was like, McKnight is not the future goalie.
No, he's
Everybody
not.
says it. I'm like, no, Connor McKnight is definitely not the goalie of the future. I'm like, if you're going to rag on the guy, get his name right.
No, Connor McKnight, that's
that ship has sailed.
Yeah,
Too lanky.
He's doing other stuff. I think the power play, it has been like in the last decade, have they finished in like the top 10 of power play?
Number 7
Like,
right now. Conor
I
Bedard
know
just
that-
yelled at you.
I
Not
know,
you, but
well,
the collective
if you watch this team and how they set up on the power play, you wouldn't think that they were top 10 in the league. And I know Jay, you reshared the video of, PD breaking down, the slingshot power play and everything. People in the chat saying, "Oh, I look sleepy." This is years of the slingshot power play wearing on my face.
Just taking years off your life.
Exactly. And Petey, as knowledgeable as he is, and as good of a explainer of the game as he is, I still don't understand why anybody would think that the slingshot power play is effective by having 4 guys be stationary at the blue line and 1 guy come up the ice with full speed, dump the puck in, and then it's everybody from basically a standstill saying, "Okay, now go do something." It does not make sense to me. This team is not talented enough to pull that off. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't get it. And I'm at the point where I feel like I have to just accept that it's something I'm just not going to understand with this team, that they're going to keep doing it. And I'm better off not being upset when it doesn't work, because what should I expect?
Yeah, I cannot fathom
That should be
how they're the 7th ranked power play in the NHL.
Well, power plays are weird because you have this Blackhawks team is the 7th ranked power play in the NHL right now. And then you go back to all those cup teams where you had all this talent out there, and they were always like 21st, 22nd. They couldn't score on the power play when they had Taves and Hossa and Sharp and Patrick Kane and Duncan Keith on the same unit. They seem to struggle.
Yeah.
But this year they're having, that year where they got hot for 3 weeks there, and it's carried them through the rest of the season. But that should be Kyle Davidson's first question this summer at all his coaching interviews is thoughts on the slingshot pass on the power play. And if the coach if the interviewee says, "I love it," you end the mute. Thank you for your time.
Yes. Unless it's John Cooper.
Grab a free coffee cup on your way out. Thanks for coming out. This meeting is over.
Yeah, it is hard to watch, man. And even I'll say it looks like Vlasic is the one who's willing to carry it in, and he's the one who's basically said, "F it, I'm going to do it myself" several times this year. But even today, he was like, "I guess I got to sling it back." I was like, "No, you don't. You don't have to. Just carry it in."
Derek Plant was in the press box radioing it in. I'm going to
slingshot it. You don't have to make the noise when you do it. It just comes through. Got it. Yeah, it is aggravating to watch the 7th rated power play in the NHL, which is just crazy. I don't know. Well, you're right. Watching this power play has aged me several years, and they're, in the top of the league, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's one of the best things that this team has going for it, and yet right. I'm still pulling my hair out and wanting to jump over the railing of the press box, just shake them by the collar. Stop doing that.
Stop sucking.
That's the worst part is you guys are frustrated about having to watch the power play. I'm ready to jump off of a building because I'm watching this team play 5-on-5 hockey.
Yeah,
that's a lot worse.
Good point. It is a lot worse. Fair enough. All right, before we spring you any nuggets and or tidbits.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I guess the final thought for this game is that there are the bright spots for this team. I think continuously, game in and game out, whether he's on the score sheet or not, Frank Nazar is proving himself to be worthy of that 13th overall pick, worthy of being in the top 6. And right now, as the number 1 center on this team, he is excelling. And there were a number of times tonight and in the last couple of games where he's been one of the most notable guys in a positive way. There was a few times tonight where just watching him, he was a guy that was like, I'm going to try and make something happen myself. And actually a few times, lowered his shoulder and tried to, power his way to the middle of the ice with the puck, going into corners, going behind the net and trying to win battles. And like, the more and more we see him in the NHL, the more and more I'm convinced, and I already thought he was going to be a really good player, the more I'm convinced he's going to eventually be a star on this team. And, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but, all the talk of like Bedard needs a elite line mate and stuff like that. Don't discredit Frank Nazar potentially being that guy once both of them are fully realized NHL players.
Well, I mean, his motor never stops. And, you talk, a lot of people are hung up on the size of the Blackhawks forward prospects, and it's legit. They don't have a lot of big guys yet. Maybe they fix that with Michael Misa this draft, but Nazar plays big. He is always fighting for space, fighting for pucks. If he loses it, battling to get it back, willing to get in front, willing to battle behind the net. Like, he does everything you want a big forward to do, and he does it pretty well. I would still like the Mitch Marner to be with Nazar and Bedard. That would be great. But yeah, I don't think it's a wrong thought to have to envision in 3-4 years that Frank Nazar could certainly be that guy.
Yeah, I mean that's why they took him where they did, and at every level that he's played at, he's excelled, he's thrived, he's been a key player. And I just think he's going to be something really special.
9 of 10 at the faceoff dot tonight too.
That's pretty good.
90%.
Yeah, that's that will keep you in the league.
Yeah,
not bad for the Hawks' 14th best prospect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, man. Well, we're gonna spring you. We're gonna wrap the show up here, but thanks for everything, and we'll talk to you Saturday. By the way, if you're coming to our takeover on Sunday, we've got plans. If you're a diehard and you got tickets, we are sold out, but we'll be at the Hockey Barn at 11:30 for a pregame meetup. If you're not part of the takeover, you can still show up at the Hockey Barn before the game and say hi. But puck drops at 2, Hockey Barn 11:30. You should have gotten your tickets today. If you've not, you'll get them tomorrow. But we'll see you then. Thanks, Mario.
Sounds good. See you guys.
All right. Before we go, I want to drop in one more thing. The Athletic published their list of they're all under 25 team, and this is by Corey Pronman and Scott Wheeler. Conor Bedard and Spencer Knight are parts of that team. They've got top line is Stützle, Boldy, and Raymond. Second is Hughes, Caulfield, and Bedard. Celebrini, Svechnikov, Jarvis, Johnston, Fantilli, Marchenko, Dahlin, Sider, Sanderson, Faber, Harley, Dobson, and the goalies are Spencer Knight and Dustin Wolf. So there you go. 2 Hawks, and it's all under 25 team. And I think if they do that again in 2 years, there'll be several more.
Yeah, some of those guys will age out. It's blows my mind that Jack Hughes is still under 25.
And Rasmus Dahlin.
Yeah, those guys feels like those guys have been in the league for.
And Tim Stützle.
Yeah, I mean that's crazy to think, but you also think Conor Bedard can still be on that list 4 years from now,
5 years from now,
yeah,
6 years from now.
Holy smoke! Well, no, he'll be 25. He won't be under.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. All right. We got to get to super chats real quick. We got a couple. We got to knock out here. Andy says Newcastle United Cup champs, 70 years since the last one.
Cool.
Congratulations, I think.
Nice.
I like their brown ale. And Ndun226 says when you get hurt and you're angry, you know you're out, in reference to Colton Dach. Yeah, that's true. He looked like he knew it was not good.
Yeah.
Don't want to speculate too much, but hoping for the best from Colton Dach. And time to name the game's 4-star. It is, you guessed it, Spencer Knight, who stopped 30 of 32 LA shots on goal. Their third goal was an empty netter, if you missed it, because you have you have something other than Fubo or an antenna or DirecTV.
True.
All right. We are back Saturday. We've got games all weekend. We're off tomorrow. So we will talk to you on Saturday for the Blackhawks postgame show right here on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast, powered by Bet365.
We all silly like the mayor.